expressed in this show belong to the person expressing them. They do not purport to reflect the opinions or views of Rancher or any other entity. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Coffee and Cloud Native, the show that shares news and interesting content related to Kubernetes, Cloud Native, and other nifty technology. My name is Adrian Goins, and I am fired up to be here with you today. If you're watching live, consider following or subscribing to the channel. And if you're watching a replay in the future, please also give the video a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm shares it with other people. Join the free community site and the Discord server. Links to that are in the video description or scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Live chat happens in Discord with a bot that relays between YouTube and Twitch, and so come hang out with us either during the show or afterward. And as you'll see in a minute, it's off of my peripheral vision right now, the live chat's where the real action happens. So let's take a moment and say hello to people today. Mose, good morning. I didn't say hi to you yesterday. You were higher up in the scroll than I got to. Ian P, Old Man with a Hat, Nuno, Ariel, James P, good morning. OFS, Wifebot, hello. Chrysalis, we were talking about electricity. Electricity is scary. Electricity is, it's straight up magic. You know that whoever discovered, actually was able to figure out how to harness electricity, first of all, got shocked a whole heck of a lot. And second, was just a wizard. Who else do we have here today? Adrian Grimshaw, friend with a name. Captain Justin, OFS, I think I already said hello to you. I saw somebody pop in off of YouTube. Who do we got? Let's look over here real quick. Isa, good morning off of YouTube. It looks like most of the people that we have chatting are actually chatting in Discord. Isa, you should just come join Discord. And that way chatbot has to do less work. Okay, so before we start the show, just a word of warning. We have an electrician here on site today doing electrician-y work. They don't care. They don't even understand what it is that I'm doing. They have no, I've told them, they just don't get it. So there's like a greater than 0% chance that I'm just gonna lose power for enough time to, whatever, crash the computer. So if that happens, hang out and I'll be back. They're also making a bunch of noise. So if you hear that, whatever, what are you gonna do? Otherwise, let's get started. The A/B test. So the collector bots who've been rebuilt over my vacation and are starting to gather more stuff. They've gathered candidates for the show. Trufflebot scored them from 1 to 5 coffees, corresponding to a 75 to 100% probability of being interesting content. He'll post them one at a time in both the live chat and the live voting channel on Discord, and I'll load them up. Anyone watching live can rate them in the live voting channel, and then the final scores are shown when we move to the next item. The total rating for all items shown on the show is used to rate the show itself, and then those are factored back into the machine learning model at the end of every show. So, whoops, wrong channel. First up, we have, I should put my stylus down so I can type with all my fingers. Oh, really? Did Trufflebot just crash? Trufflebot had everything loaded, and then Trufflebot gave me, no, Trufflebot didn't crash. Trufflebot's just not participating in today's show. What the heck just happened? Oh, I know why. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Yep, he pasted it over there. He pasted it in the wrong channel. Bang, set. So let's see if I can reset. Okay. Set debug off. I need to actually put that in the real thing. Okay, trying it again. First of all, let's get an excuse. Why did that just happen? Trufflebot says, I think Trufflebot might be real. Trufflebot says, an IO error, incompetent operator. Truth. Okay, back to the show. While I was on vacation, this was released, so I didn't have an opportunity to put it on the show. It was 2 weeks ago. It was in 2020. It feels like it was a year ago. But this is from our very own Nuno do Carmo. This is an article on how to set up high availability K3s using K3D. K3D runs all of K3s within Docker, and Nuno does an excellent job of showing how to set it up, how to run it under WSL2, with detailed explanation about why and what and how and the commands. It's a really long, comprehensive article. And if you've ever read any of Nuno's stuff, you know that he goes deep into what he's explaining. The man understands the information. So if you are interested in using K3s for development, K3D is a wonderful way to do that. And Nuno's article is a fantastic way to get started. And all of you who rated that a 3 are fired. We have a lot of stuff on today. We have a lot of stuff on today from Tigera? That's really, obviously it's a tiger, but that's gotta be, I don't know how to pronounce it. We have a lot of stuff on from Calico. I know how to pronounce Calico. First of all, Calico has a certified Calico operator level 1 course that just opened 3 days ago, I think. What is it, the 5th? 4 days ago, whatever. It opened up this year. And Calico's been doing really well, as you'll see in another article that we have coming up in a few minutes. And Wifebot says that looks like a Calico tiger. Tigera? Tigera, I want to say Tigera. Calico now supports eBPF. Calico is doing work with the VPP data plane. Calico's pretty amazing. I'm considering switching off of Cilium, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But if you are interested in learning more about Calico, they have a course now that'll give you everything you need to know about network policy, about network connectivity, about peering with BGP, about all of the stuff related to Kubernetes networking and how to use Calico successfully within your Kubernetes clusters. It's free. It has a wonderful name. I'm a big fan of that name, that title. Thank you, Calico, for choosing such a wonderful and awesome name. There are some of you who understand why I'm really driving that point home, that the name looks good. And let's move on. The collector bots have figured out that I am interested in serverless stuff. Serviceless? I almost said serviceless. I am interested in serverless stuff. So they've been popping up a lot of serverless stuff. I'll put some of it on the show. But mostly even though a lot of it is about Lambda, when I see Lambda, I just think serverless because you can do it with pretty much anything. You just need to figure out the tooling yourself. This combines AWS Rekognition, the facial recognition software that a couple weeks ago I said you can actually use that yourself. Recognition. It's interesting. Recognition and recognition actually, like when you say them differently, they mean two completely different things, even though obviously recognition is recognition, the thinking of and recalling of a thing. Anyway, recognition, however you pronounce it, has gotten a lot of flack because AWS was allowing law enforcement to use it to do, law enforcement-y things. But you can use it yourself. And this individual created a serverless doorbell that is just a proof of concept. He built it for fun as part of a hackathon at his work. It uses a little bit of AWS stuff with Lambda, but then a lot of stuff that's actually running on a Raspberry Pi. The idea being that you press a button and it takes the picture and sends it up. If it knows who you are, it identifies you. If not, it just indexes it in case it sees you in the future. And then it outputs an image to Slack saying, there's someone at the door, sends the picture, it's watermarked so you know when it happened, and then it makes an effort to identify who they actually are. Very cool proof of concept for facial recognition, for serverless, for all of the technologies that are used here, including running on a Raspberry Pi. Forget about the creepy facial recognition aspect of it. I still think it's super cool. Our gate is about 150 meters from the house, and it's always locked. So when somebody comes to the gate, they have to call. And I have a camera up there, but boy, wouldn't it be great if it could just tell me who was at the gate? Or if when people drive in if we have the gate open. For example, the workers, when we know that the workers are coming, we just leave the gate open in the morning and they drive in. I have motion sensors on poles, on electrical poles on the way, so that I can get an alert when people are driving in. Tying facial recognition to that would also be super cool. If a vehicle's driving in, if it can get a picture and say, that's worker A versus that's fisherman B. Because occasionally we do get people who drive in who are like, hey, can we just drive across your property and go fishing over there? And we tell them no. So I thought this was very neat. More Calico. More Calico Bell. More Calico Bell. There you go. That's my Christopher Walken for you. Gosh, I can't believe I just did that. more Calico Bell. Ian says, number plate recognition needed. That would actually be cool. Build a license plate reader. There was, I think they were a Y Combinator startup. Pretty sure they were a Y Combinator startup. It was a few years ago. And their idea was for communities like mine, they'd have a license plate reader that you would put. So my community has one road that goes through it. So it's really easy to figure out, entrance and exit for the community. It's not very big. But a license plate reader that sits at the entrance and exit and is tied to a database that knows the license plates of people who live in the community. Car drives by, snaps the plate, recognizes you're a member of the community, deletes the record. If you're not a member of the community, then it stores the image with a timestamp. And then it also tags when you leave out the other side or out the same side that you came in, understanding how far or how long you were in the community. The idea being that for security reasons, you can tie any crime in the community to foreign license plates that might be, not saying that all crime in a community is committed by people who don't live there, but it's a good way to get more information. The idea being to reduce crime. Hey, if you enter this community, you've been tagged. And if you do anything bad, then we know who you were. I would love to have that here because we do get people who come in from other places, do bad things here, and then leave. Bad things including not just like breaking into people's houses, starting fires, but also like dumping dead sheep, dumping trash. So yeah, a license plate reader tool like that, I think would be fantastic. Back to Calico. Calico posted an article at the end of last year that shared the metrics around Calico. So they're able to extrapolate that they're running on 1 million nodes, 250,000 clusters, and in 166 countries. So that's an 85% increase over their 2019 stats, which is amazing. This chart got me a little excited. I use Cilium, and I chose Cilium because of their eBPF functionality, and I saw them at a KubeCon, I saw their presentation of stuff, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, you can do all kinds of really cool stuff. Well, everybody else has figured out that eBPF is the cat's meow, the cat's pajamas, the dog's bottom. I don't know what it's dog's bottoms are not awesome. Anyway, everybody else has figured that out, and Calico now has full eBPF support in Calico. This, however, does a comparison that shows that Calico actually beats Cilium in resource consumption for their operations. I run a lot of resource-constrained clusters, so I found that to be interesting. I also was very interested in the fact that Calico supports arbitrary encryption. I didn't realize that. So I'm, after reading this, genuinely considering rebuilding my clusters with Calico and taking their class. So the encryption apparently is just amazing. Automated MTU configuration. It will dynamically figure out what the best MTU is for the workloads and configure itself appropriately, which is pretty crazy. Supports 3 data planes, eBPF, native Linux, and Windows. Pretty crazy. The eBPF data plane preserves external client source IP addresses and enables DSR. Crazy. And because Calico uses BGP, I was actually talking to somebody in the Kubernetes channel. I know that there's an interest in putting directly accessible IP addresses on pods, and stuff like this makes that kind of thing possible. Anyway, all sorts of other stuff here, and I like that they ended with, if you're not ready to get certified, but you still want to know about Calico, here's an ebook that tells you more about Kubernetes networking and where Calico fits into it. So it's nice to see them doing good things. Way to go. What is this? Boosting your kubectl productivity. This is an old article. This is from May of 2019. I don't put old articles on the show. My criteria is generally like it has to be within the last few days. But we've been in a bit of a drought with the end of the year, so I had to kind of, I had to make some exceptions. This one has a lot of information that is, well, it's kind of universally valuable. Things that you can do with kubectl to make using Kubernetes easier. Command completion, not interesting to me because I don't use bash or ZSH. This article is enormous. I love the Learn K8s articles because they're just enormous. Anyway, so you scroll past like how kubectl works. If you are using bash and ZSH, which is probably most everybody else on the planet who's not me using fish, or a friend of mine who still uses corn shell, hardcore, old school. Command completion. Okay, what else? Moving on. They explain lots about command line completion and how it's different on Mac OS versus on Linux and the things you do. Okay, quickly looking up resource specifications. I've been using kubectl explain a lot lately as I'm trying to teach myself how not to rely on web UI tools to do stuff with Kubernetes because I'm working towards doing my CKA. So I need to be able to, the things that I don't remember, well, kubectl explain is just fantastic. It's just fantastic for explaining what you need to do. So that's a wonderful thing. If you don't use that when you're using kubectl, it's faster than the documentation in a lot of cases. Custom columns output format, interesting, but JSON path freaks me out. So we're just gonna scroll past that. Switching between clusters and namespaces with ease. The recommendation here is to use, where is it? kubectx. Although I've recently, kubectx. I've recently switched to using kubi, which does the same thing, but it actually spawns a subshell so that you can have different shells connected to different clusters instead of kubectx, which changes it's a global change across everything. So we had kubi on the show a couple of weeks ago. You can check that out. Shell aliases. This was new. I know about these aliases. This is also from Amet. I'm pretty sure it's from Amet, the same guy that has kubectx and kubens. But yeah, so his list of aliases are these gobbledygook garbagey things. And I always looked at them, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna remember that. But I didn't read to learn that it follows a pattern. And you can kind of see in the image there. So the base, K for kubectl, and then system or whatever the namespace is, the operation, the resource, and the options. So once you understand that, well, it's obvious this is kubectl get pods -o YAML. You can't see my mouse. Can I highlight that? I can't because it's an image. Kubectl -n kube system, remove config map, and then whatever it is. Kubectl get, I don't know what that is. Get pod all deployments. Anyway, show labels. There we go. That makes the aliases a lot easier to remember because all you're doing is taking the thing that you would type and shortening it. I'm a huge fan of using aliases and shortcuts and anything that results in fewer keystrokes. Do you know that I don't even use shift when I write? Some of you have probably picked that up. I write in all lowercase because over the course of my entire career, how much time have I saved by not having to press shift, like my pinky? It's so much happier. I took a typing test the other day and discovered that I typed 95 words per minute. It's crazy. What else do they have in here? kubectl with plugins. There's a lot of really cool plugins you can install with Crew. So yeah, if you spend any time in the CLI with kubectl, it's worth looking at this and, well, making your life easier. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing good today. This next one I included for my OpenStack peeps. I don't use OpenStack. Never used OpenStack. I think years and years and years ago, I looked at OpenStack and was like, that looks really cool. I never did anything with it. But a lot of people use it. We've had OpenStack on here in two forms, running Kubernetes on OpenStack and running OpenStack on Kubernetes, which is crazy. But, you know, people are into it. That's cool. This showed up and is actually part 4 of a whole series of articles about running Kubernetes on OpenStack. I didn't read the other 3 articles, but I know that people watch the show who use OpenStack. And if you are not already doing stuff with Kubernetes and you have an OpenStack infrastructure, well, maybe this will help you get started. So there you go. And apparently nobody who's watching the show right now gives a damn about OpenStack, according to the ratings. So we'll move on. This one is interesting. This is also an old article. This goes to show you just how quickly information expires. So I'm putting this on for a number of reasons. 1, it's no longer valid. 2, lots and lots of things on the internet are no longer valid. 3, they still have enough information in them for you to go and figure out what to do, but be careful going down dead-end rabbit holes. And I myself am guilty of having old content out there. If you look at all of my YouTube videos from 2019 and before, I guess even into 2018, gosh, I've been doing YouTube for, 2019. Anyway, if you look at my YouTube videos, they're all old and need to be updated, and that takes time. So this, however, the concept is interesting. The nginx-ingress controller has a default backend that by default just says blah 404. It's really boring, but you may not know that you can customize that. At the time that this article was written, there was an option available. Well, let's go find his repo. There was an option available where you could just point it at a different service. Where's your repo, dude? There it is. Where you could point it at a different service and service. Default backend service, yeah. That's no longer there. And in fact, it was no longer there at the time that this article was written, but he fell victim to the Helm charts being moved, and he was still looking at the old Helm chart. So that's no longer there. But what is still there and is the right way to do that, and in fact, I'm just going to go out to the actual try to find it in my history here. Let's go to the community nginx-ingress controller and let's look at the chart and let's jump down here to values.yaml and let's look for default backend. So by default, the default backend is not enabled. However, all you have to do is turn it on and then adjust the image criteria here to point at a different image and a different tag. And this will bring down your custom image. And then when people get a 404, they don't get the horrible 1994 404 page. They'll get something that's actually pretty. My favorites are the ones that say, something happened, but we know about it and we're already working on it. And I'm like, no, you're not. I just heard my butt laugh. The 10-second delay. It's like, I've been on the internet for 20-something years. Don't lie to me. Don't, like, oh wait, isn't that what the internet's for? The internet, the place that we all go to get lied to. Codefresh. You ever see those little things in Git repos that say, coverage 4% or coverage 100%, and it's like, the little badges. Well, code coverage demonstrates how much of your code is actually covered by tests. And that's a good representation of just how effective your test suite is. And it's okay when you're starting out if you have like 4% code coverage, you want to work to get more coverage. Now, it's important that as you get, there are some portions of your code that are just like the testing doesn't provide significant value. So 100% is not necessarily the goal, but anything above 70%, 80% is good. Well, this shows how to implement Codecov. Now, even though the article is from Codefresh, it shows how to implement Codecov with Codefresh, but Codecov is actually a service that, well, demonstrates code coverage and has a very generous free tier, up to 5 users, unlimited public repositories, and unlimited private repositories. So there's no reason not to just put this on your stuff and validate that your test cases are good. This article is a wonderful in-depth tutorial about how to get started. I hate those things. How to get started with Codecov, how to hook it up into your repository, and also as an introduction, how to get stuff running with Codefresh. I know many people who work at Codefresh. They're a wonderful company filled with wonderful people who just really care about doing what they do really, really well. They're always super, super, super animated whenever I run into them at KubeCon. So, hello, Codefresh. All right. We have 4 minutes left, which means we have 6 minutes left. And I know that today I need some time for tool of the day. First of all, we had an average rating of 4 coffees for today's show. So even though none of you like OpenStack, we still did all right. Boom! N8N. I use Node-RED for automation-y stuff. I've got it plugged into Home Assistant, and I've written a bunch of code for it that controls like the solar charge controllers and dynamically adjusting draw from the grid when it's not summertime and stuff like that. Node-RED is great, but I just use it for everything that I have here in the house. So Node-RED is often pitched as an alternative to IFT, and that's fine. Not a big fan of IFT. This is kind of like Node-RED with your node-based programming, but it ships with all of these connectors that are already configured to talk to third-party APIs. So this is kind of like Node-RED meets Zapier meets IFT, but you can run it yourself. It has a somewhat limited license. This is worth pointing out. Apache 2.0 with Commons Clause. This basically says, I mean, you can read it. It says you can't take this and go sell it as a service, but you can take this and integrate it into the back end of another service that you're selling. So just be aware that it's not 100% open source, as in you can do whatever you want with it, MIT or GPL or whatever. But beyond that, let's just get into what it does. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It has synchronization between 150 apps, and you can build all of these triggers to do all of these things from third-party APIs. They've got some videos. They have a really nice posting on Medium, or posting blog site, I don't know, whatever. They've got a Medium environment that shows how you can do stuff like build an expense tracking app so you can replace Expensify. Doing integrations between, what was in the demo yesterday? They had an integration, between a type form where a user could submit, I'm having an issue, and then it went into a Google spreadsheet, and then the fields from the Google spreadsheet were extrapolated by a control block, and based on the priority of the issue, either sent it as an email or sent it as a notification to a Slack channel. Like super basic example, but all of the connectors, you just put in your API credentials and it works. I've been spending some time with Zapier. I find that my feelings about them vary from day to day. Let's just leave it at that. And since I already use Node-RED, I'm super excited to take this for a spin and use it to expand some of the stuff that I'm doing, even for the show. The automated tweets that I'm sending through Buffer. Anything related to automation is just so powerful. So powerful. You look at the stuff that you do every day, and you're like, well, I can just automate that. And now that's a time slot that I can spend on something else. And please, don't spend it on meetings. Please. So yeah, automate yourself out of a job, and then you're free to go do whatever you want. This is N8N. This popped up on Hacker News yesterday, and I was like, wow! If any of you use it, or try to use it, or start using it, come back and let us know. And that takes us to the top of the hour, which means we're done. It's the end. That's all for today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Links to everything that I talk about on the show go up in the free community site at community.cncn.io after the show ends. Come join us. Community members get early access to the links, the video replay, and other exclusive content. It's free to join, and people are joining every single day. If you have something you would like for me to consider for the show, post it in the show suggestions channel on Discord, post it in the community site, mention me in the post, ping me on Discord, ping me on Twitter, I don't know. Just make sure that I respond, because if you just shoot it out into the ether and I miss it, that would be tragic for all of us. Thank you again. Have a great day, everyone. Keep learning, and I will see you in the next show. Stay caffeinated.